They raised a glass to my sister's medals while pretending I didn't exist. Then the TV flashed a headline, "Youngest General in U.S. History, Jillian Row." The room froze, and so did their lies. The champagne had barely stopped bubbling when my father stood up. To family, he said, voice smooth like the crystal in his hand, and to the ones who make us proud. And with that, every pair of eyes turned to my sister. She stood back, straight shoulders, draped in a dress tailored to show off the row of medals she wore like jewelry. Her latest promotion had made headlines locally anyway. A PR assignment somewhere domestic dressed up like a tour of valor. She beamed like a statue carved from golden stories they told each other to feel important. Then someone nudged me from behind. "Don't slouch," my cousin whispered, breath thick with beer. "You'll ruin the photos." Photos I wasn't even in, hadn't been in years. The toast continued an endless reel of compliments, half-truths and family myth-making. How brilliant, they said. How driven. She's the one who really carried the family legacy forward. More clapping, more glass clinking. My uncle leaned over and chuckled. "You still doing—" Whatever it was you used to do, I didn't answer. I just smiled. The same smile I'd learned to wear in silence. Small, controlled, disarming. I sat at the far end of the banquet table, dressed in a plain black blouse and jeans, my hair tied back. No uniform, no bars, no ribbons. I didn't need their stage. I didn't need their spotlight. I was here because I wanted to see it for myself, how far the family would go to forget me. My mother hadn't looked at me once. The dining hall was part of a rented ballroom near Branson, Missouri. Gold drapery, fairy lights, an open bar humming with laughter. They'd put money into this night, into her, and none of them even asked if I was coming. I found out by accident a forwarded email from my aunt. I RSVP'd, anonymously paid for my own meal, and showed up alone, just to watch, to see how invisible I'd become, and I was, completely. It was always little things. Birthday cards that stopped arriving, group chats where I'd been quietly removed, stories told at family dinners where my name was rewritten or erased. My dad used to introduce me as our other one, like I was a placeholder child. My sister, the future. She was always the star. And when I made noise when I served, deployed came home in shadows, they never asked what I did. They didn't want to know. Once I overheard my grandmother say she used to be so sweet before all that army nonsense. All that army nonsense included 6 years of black ops clearance, 4 regions of conflict, and classified work that shaped national policy. But none of it meant anything at this table, until the TV lit up. It had been muted all night. Something about keeping the attention on the guest of honor. But just then, whether by chance or divine comedy, it lit up red. A breaking headline slid across the screen. U.S. military confirms, youngest general in modern history. Name released. Silence cracked like glass, then my face. Full screen, full uniform, my official portrait from a black ops campaign that had no name in the public record until now. The room stopped breathing. Major General Jillian Row, the crawl read, lead strategist in global AI strike response. Forks hovered mid-air. My uncle's mouth hung open. The wine glass in my father's hand trembled crimson, spilling onto the white linen tablecloth. My mother blinked like she'd seen a ghost. And my sister. Her smile didn't fade. It broke, like porcelain under pressure. No one said a word, because when I came home, broken limping through the door at 27 with blood on my uniform and silence in my throat, they didn't clap. When I made rank and buried friends, they didn't toast me. When I vanished into classified shadows for 5 years, no one asked where I went. But now that the world said my name on a screen, now they looked, but I didn't stand. I didn't wave. I just sat there. Because what do you do when the people who raised you forget you on purpose? What do you say to a room full of faces that only remember you when they're forced to nothing? You say nothing, and you wait. Because this story, the real one, isn't about that dinner, or the TV, or the way my sister's face cracked in real time. It's about everything that came before, everything they erased, and what I did next. But before I take you there, I want to know you're with me. If you're still here, if this story hits anywhere close to home, drop a comment. Just say listening or tell me where you're watching from. It helps more than you know. Sometimes one person listening changes everything. I hadn't been back to Missouri in almost a decade, 9 years to be exact, and if it weren't for the so-called celebration, I wouldn't have come back at all. But Dylan, my cousin, my uncle's golden boy, had just landed a full ride to an Ivy League school. The family threw a backyard barbecue like he'd won a Nobel Prize. I knew what I was walking into. Big white tents stretched across the field behind my uncle's barn, checkered tablecloths, rows of folding chairs, the air thick with charcoal smoke and fake enthusiasm. You could smell the performance from the driveway. I parked half a mile up the road, walked in alone. No military convoy, no entrance, just me in a plain black shirt and jeans, hair pulled back, no pins, no insignia. I wasn't there to be seen. I was there to see. Within 5 minutes, the jabs started. "Well, look who it is," someone muttered through a mouthful of ribs. The wandering soldier finally makes an appearance. "Didn't you drop out of school to run off and play G.I. Jane?" Another voice chimed in. "Still driving trucks for the army. Or have they let you go yet?" I smiled. The same smile I gave to foreign dignitaries I didn't trust. No teeth, just restraint. None of them knew I'd operated under clearance so deep my name didn't appear in any system, that I had spent years building battle plans that reshaped military policy. To them, I was just the dropout cousin, a background extra in the family highlight reel. Aunt Liz handed me a paper plate. "There's potato salad in the corner," she said like I was a stranger. She pointed toward the fold-out table behind the tents, far from the grill, the drinks, the music. I sat alone. Plastic chair, white Solo cup, lukewarm soda. They toasted Dylan under the main tent with crystal glasses and speeches. I watched from the edges while they celebrated a version of service that had never seen a war zone. Then Dylan took the mic. He wore his West Point blazer like it had been sewn from destiny, one hand on the mic, one over his heart. His voice swelled like he was giving a presidential campaign speech. "I've always believed in service," he said. "I've looked up to the military my whole life. Some folks in our family tried it, but I want to do more. I want to make a real difference." He didn't look at me, not directly, but that pause. Some folks cut deeper than a clean insult. It was surgical, and the crowd. They erupted, cheering, clapping, like he'd just ended a war. No one questioned it. No one asked why he hadn't even finished basic training. A little boy, I think his son, wandered over to me curious. "Are you not working?" he asked, eyes blinking up at me. I looked down, my voice even. "I'm working," I said, "just not where people can see." Later, as I helped clean up, I noticed something strange in the living room. The family photo display had changed. One picture was missing the one of me in uniform fresh out of Fort Bragg. It used to sit front and center, framed in polished oak. In its place, a glossy image of Dylan at his West Point induction. I found my mother near the sink rinsing out cups. "Where's my photo?" I asked, voice low. She didn't look up. "Oh," she said, "it got dusty. Thought I'd put it away. Where in a drawer? Somewhere, like me." That word lingered longer than it should have. My chest tightened. A memory surfaced like shrapnel my last day home before deployment. My father had looked me in the eye and said, "Guns are for men, Jillian. You're tearing this family apart with your nonsense." That was the day I stopped writing home, and I never received a single letter in return. As the sun dipped behind the pasture and the lights under the tent glowed warmer, I stood at the edge of the tall grass and watched the party flicker behind me. No one called after me. No one asked where I was going. They didn't need to. I wasn't invited to stay. I was never invited at all. The wind caught my hair as I turned to leave, and under my breath, I whispered to no one in particular. "They think I disappeared. Shame. I've just been working somewhere. Beyond their clearance level. Let them keep clapping for borrowed medals. Let them toast to Dylan's pre-written glory. The real war, It doesn't always start with a gunshot. Sometimes it starts in your own backyard. The tires crunched over loose gravel as I pulled into the lot of the apartment I'd been renting under an alias. Third-floor walk-up in Springfield. No name on the mailbox, no unit directory listing, bare walls, no photos, no books, not even a houseplant. Just one bed, one desk, and a military-issued laptop sitting silently in the corner, like it was holding its breath. I liked it that way. No visitors, no memories, no loose ends. I dropped my keys on the counter, walked to the floorboard, and lifted the false panel. A small steel safe sat inside, locked fingerprint access only. I hadn't opened it in months, but tonight I did. Inside, a scorched ball cap with a faded eagle emblem, a bent piece of shrapnel the size of a dog tag, one charred insignia badge half melted but still legible, no man left behind. I turned the badge in my hand, felt the weight of it, not in grams, but in lives. That badge had survived a direct shell hit. It was the only thing I carried out in my pocket that night besides bloodied gloves and my last breath of faith in the system. I powered on the laptop. The encryption startup sequence danced spinning keys tunnels of hidden code ghost ports, waking up after months of silence. While it loaded, my eyes drifted back to the box. Caucasus Mountains, Operation Orion Echo, winter so cold it bit through your bones. The mission had been simple on paper extract 12 civilian engineers held hostage by a rogue paramilitary cell. Intel was shaky, weather worse. When we arrived, it wasn't 12, it was 21, including children. Command said in and out, no deviation. I deviated, split the unit, delayed exfil, used flares to draw fire and fake an escape route. We got them all out, every last one, at the cost of cover timing and the chain of command. I was never promoted again. My name was stripped from the mission logs. The official story credited a coalition partner unit. The internal debrief labeled me compromised. No scandal, no noise, just erasure. Sealed behind locked corridors no one dared question. The laptop pinged new encrypted message. Sender call sign iceback. They'll never list your name. You knew that. But you also knew what mattered more. None of those kids died, and you're still breathing. That's the win. You don't get medals for that kind of choice, only scars. I sat still for a while, felt the cold again, the dry bite of blood in snow, the silence before a rocket hits, the kind of silence that never leaves your bones. On impulse, I opened a private military forum, Darknet, one of those old anonymous threads still frequented by ghosts of the uniform vets, truth seekers, conspiracy addicts. I typed in my name. The results were instant. Thread titles: Officer Goes Rogue in Echo Campaign. Delta Team's Disgrace. Unofficial internal court-martial expose. The comments were worse. Cowboy tactics. She blew it for everyone. Should have been dishonorably discharged. She almost got civilians killed. Most of them cited a mysterious source, MJR Delta. I didn't know who that was, but they knew me, and they wanted the world to believe I was reckless, dangerous, a failed experiment in uniform. The worst part, no one outside of classified channels was supposed to know Orion Echo even existed. Someone had been leaking. Someone with access to details no civilian should know, posting false reports, slandering me in the shadows, slowly rotting my legacy from the inside out. I didn't sleep that night. I sat there, badge in hand, laptop open, while the steel box glowed faint blue beside me. Not angry, just clear. If they wanted me erased quietly, they should have finished the job. Because ghosts only haunt when they're left behind, and I hadn't gone anywhere. The morning after the barbecue, I made the mistake of turning on the TV. I was stirring burnt coffee in a chipped mug when I heard the voice. I looked up, and there he was, Jillian Row, seated confidently on one of those sleek, plastic-perfect studio couches, smiling like he'd just cured cancer. The talk show chyron beneath him read, Emerging Voice of American Service, a New Generation of Military Leadership. My stomach turned. A hero, they said. He leaned forward, voice steady, posture, perfect eyes glossy with faux humility. We were stationed near the southern pass of the Caucasus Mountains, he began. We got word that local hostages were in danger. No backup, no clear intel. But I made a decision. I broke protocol. We moved in. We saved everyone. I stopped breathing. Every single detail, every single one was mine. The pass, the intel, the number of hostages, the split unit tactic, the last-minute evac. That mission was mine. My call, my command, my risk. He hadn't just stolen the credit, he'd replicated my classified op like it was a bedtime story. And America. They clapped, ate it up, applauded like they understood. I stood in front of the screen, stunned. My name had been scrubbed from the mission logs years ago, but somehow he'd gotten access to the story, to details only someone on the ground would know, and now he was feeding it to daytime America, like he'd lived it. I picked up the phone, dialed my mother. "Did you see the show this morning?" I asked, voice flat. She hesitated. "Oh, Dylan's been doing so well lately," she said. "I think it's great he's finally being recognized." "He made the whole thing up," I said. "He's never served. He's never even held a weapon outside a ceremony. He stole that story." A pause. Too long. Then gently, "Well, you've always kept everything to yourself, sweetheart. People can only be proud of what they understand." I closed my eyes. "I tried to tell you," I said, barely holding it together. "You always changed the subject, or laughed, or told me I was making things up." She didn't deny it. I hung up without another word. A few minutes later, my secure line buzzed. Only 3 people in the world had that number. Jillian came the voice. Calm, clipped, familiar. "Lieutenant Colonel Amanda Lake, my former mission strategist. You need to hear this before it gets worse." "I'm listening," I said, jaw tight. "There's chatter. Political circles. Someone's dredging up your refusal to comply with Rasheen's drone request back in 2018. Word is he hasn't forgotten, and now this Dylan showing up with classified mission details. That's no coincidence." My pulse spiked. I knew exactly what she meant. Back in 2018, General Rasheen had asked me to manipulate surveillance data, claim a rogue drone program was just a logistics test. In truth, it had been tracking congressional members who opposed military expansion. I refused. Filed an internal report. It vanished. Quietly. Without consequence. But he didn't forget. And now his name was back in the wind. "You think he's feeding Dylan Amanda?" Hesitated. "I think this is bigger than family lies. I think someone's using your silence as a weapon. And if you don't speak soon, they'll write your story for you." I stared at the television. Dylan's smug smile. The studio lights. The curated truth. "I never wanted the spotlight," I said. "I wanted the truth to matter." Amanda didn't blink. It doesn't. Not anymore. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, heart racing like a countdown. They weren't just irritating me, they were erasing me piece by piece. Later that night, I walked the dim hallway of my apartment complex and dialed my mother again. This time, I wasn't calm. "Did you know he was going to do this?" I asked. "Did you know he was going to claim that story?" Her voice faltered. He needed something. To feel good. To give the family something to admire. You never listened," I snapped. "That's why I never told you." Silence. Then I said it slowly, clearly. "Well, now I'll speak louder, and this time I'm not asking for permission." The next day I got the email. No knock on the door, no stamp, no phone call. Just a message from the Department of Defense. "Effective immediately, you are placed on temporary suspension pending investigation for breach of Level 1 Tactical Encryption Protocol." I stared at the screen. They said I was the last person to access a classified file, one that had just been leaked, stripped bare, and dumped into a data lake wide enough to drown in. The fingerprint. Mine. Only I hadn't touched that file in 3 years. The breach came from a military-issue laptop I'd turned in long ago, one that was supposed to be sealed in a vault. Instead, it had been used from a DC-based IP address, from an office connected to Rasheen. The breach report signed by a mid-level analyst, username MJR Delta, the same tag that had been smearing my name online, posting classified leaks, blaming me for failures I never caused. This wasn't just a breach, it was a setup. I didn't go through official channels. That's the first thing you need to understand, because when someone's trying to erase your existence, paperwork is just a coffin with a timestamp. Instead, I reached out to the one person who owed me nothing, but once told me I'd saved his life. Marcus Vance. In another world, Marcus would have been a top Pentagon analyst. In ours, he was a digital ghost, half genius, half liability. Years ago, he was nearly court-martialed for allegedly manipulating satellite data during a live combat op. Everyone turned their backs on him, except me. I defended him, staked my reputation on it. He stayed. Quietly, gratefully. I texted him a single word, now. He responded in 10 minutes. I wondered when you'd stop playing dead. We met in a forgotten downtown library. His choice. It smelled like dust, disuse, and distrust. I can help, he said without looking up. His fingers moved like lightning over the keys. But one promise no. Walking away this time. I'm in, I said. All the way. Within hours, Marcus broke into internal military systems that would have taken me weeks. He found something buried under 7 layers of misdirection, elegant, almost beautiful in its deception. Malware, tiny code snippets tucked inside the biometric authentication logs. Over the past 18 months, my digital ID had been used 7 times to access Level 1 systems tied to drone initiative files, autonomous warfare programs, surveillance on high-level politicians. I hadn't touched any of them. They cloned your identity, Marcus said, eyes dark, and left just enough noise to ensure if this ever came out, you'd be the fall girl. I didn't say anything. I was staring at the fireplace back in my apartment, at the photo I'd taken down earlier, me in full dress blues standing next to a younger Dylan, both of us smiling. I fed the photo to the flames. It curled into black ash in seconds. Not rage, not grief, liberation. That uniform had once shielded me. Now it couldn't protect anything. Not truth, not legacy, not identity. My phone buzzed. No caller ID, no traceable source, just one message. What if CNN knew everything I locked the screen, fingers trembling? This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was war, and I was finally ready to fight out loud. The next morning, I found it tucked under my apartment door. No postage, no return address, just an off-white envelope, corners curled slightly with time. Inside, one sheet of paper. The handwriting was faint. The words weren't. You probably don't remember me, but I remember you, Orion Echo, Sector 9. You came back for us when comms went dead. You could have left, we all knew it, but you didn't. My sister works at CNN. If she ever wanted to tell a story that mattered, I told her this. Find Jillian Row. It was signed Jason Kane. I remembered his face now. Young, bleeding, half buried under rubble when I dragged him out. I'd nearly forgotten his voice, but never the way he clung to life like it owed him something. Less than 2 hours later, the knock came. Measured. No urgency, but deliberate. Sarah Kane wasn't what I expected. No clipboard, no fake empathy, no tabloid energy. She looked like someone who'd stopped being surprised by how cruel the world could be. Her eyes were clear, like someone who wanted the truth, not a headline. She didn't ask if I was a victim. She didn't ask if I wanted revenge. She asked one question, if I told your story. Not for ratings, not for outrage, but for truth. Would you let it finally be heard? I looked at her for a long time, then said, if you're willing to bleed for the truth the way some of us bled in silence, then yes. Marcus stayed on alert while Sarah began digging. That's when we found it. A digital footprint, anonymous, faint but traceable, looping through Capitol Hill through back doors no civilian could reach. Someone had accessed my family's private records, addresses, Medical files, motion sensors, nothing stolen, nothing changed. But someone had been watching. I can't trace the full route, Marcus said, but the IP pings from a shell server located 2 floors under a Pentagon annex. My gut twisted. They're not just trying to smear you anymore, he added. They're trying to scare you. Too late for that. Sarah didn't back down. She verified 3 key points independently cross-referenced through sources Marcus barely trusted. I had commanded Operation Orion Echo. I had refused to cooperate with an illegal drone surveillance initiative. I had been the target of a coordinated effort to discredit, erase, and silence my legacy. The night CNN aired the first segment, I didn't tell anyone. I watched alone, in silence. She was called a failure by her own family, erased by the very system she once served. But the truth reveals something different. The woman behind the silence once led a mission that saved 116 hostages across 3 nations, and the silence surrounding her, it wasn't hers. It was designed. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just whispered I never needed applause. I just needed someone willing to listen. The next morning, I packed a small bag, locked my apartment behind me, and drove west, back to Missouri. Not because I thought they'd welcome me, I knew better, but sometimes ghosts need confronting while they still have faces. I was halfway down the gravel road that split through our family land when I saw it, a dark column of smoke rising in the distance behind the barn. I slammed the brakes. Boots hit dirt before the engine died. I sprinted. Flames roared. The barn was engulfed. The old hay storage, the tool shed beside it, gone in fire. Sirens howled, but I didn't wait. I ran toward the back porch. My mother was slumped over the steps. I dropped to my knees. She was breathing barely, hair matted with soot, skin blackened with ash. I called it in myself, voice steady, surgical. The paramedics arrived minutes later. I didn't speak, not until I saw my father standing by the well covered in soot, eyes red not from grief, from rage. "You just had to open your damn mouth, didn't you?" he growled. "We didn't need your honor, Jillian. We needed peace, quiet, a life that didn't get us targeted." I didn't reply, not yet, because beneath his anger wasn't logic, it was fear. Later that night, Marcus called. His voice was sharp. "Someone accessed your family's security system through a remote relay." I didn't breathe. Who I asked, though, I already knew. There's a trail leading back to Dylan's laptop. My stomach clenched. My cousin. The same one who stole my mission, my name, my story. And now his digital fingerprints were on the breach that made my family vulnerable. Motion sensors, cameras, timetables. He'd been watching them for weeks. He didn't light the match, but he handed them the gasoline. I drove to the hospital that night. My mother was sedated, tubes in her nose, chest rising, slow mechanical. My father wouldn't look at me, but I didn't come for him. I walked down the hall and found Dylan alone in the waiting room, vending machine coffee in hand, face pale. "You knew," I said flatly. He looked up, eyes wide. What are you talking about?" "The breach," I said. "Your access logs, your laptop, the system that tracked our family's movements. Your login gave them the data." His lips parted. No words, not denial, not guilt, fear. "That's not—" "I didn't mean you didn't mean to get caught," I cut in, "but you did. And now my mother nearly died in a fire because you sold me out." He didn't answer. Didn't have to. That was confirmation enough. Marcus called again an hour later, his voice darker. "I found it. Dylan made a deal through an encrypted channel with a flagged contact inside the Pentagon. He traded metadata for a fast-track spot in the Defense Media Division." I didn't speak. He continued. "They used you, and he let them. So there it was. I hadn't just been erased. I'd been sold. My life, my missions, my silence, my scars had been auctioned off for someone else's resume. That fire. That wasn't just a consequence. It was a warning." Later that night, I stood outside the hospital. The wind carried the scent of smoke on my jacket, and I realized I wasn't angry anymore, because anger meant I still wanted something from them: understanding, apology, maybe even love. But I didn't need any of it. I needed justice, and I was done playing by their rules. I turned down the Pentagon's offer to reinstate me, respectfully, permanently. Let them fix their own mess. Instead, I followed Marcus to Poland, to an abandoned NATO outpost near the Belarusian border, cold, remote, forgotten, but not empty. What we found buried under concrete and rusted steel was worse than rumors: a weapons AI program, advanced, self-sufficient, evolving, and buried deep in its command code. My name, my codebase, from a project I had scrapped years ago. The skeleton of what I once built for hostage rescue now twisted into something autonomous, unethical, lethal. As Marcus began data extraction, things went dark. No response, no pings, no signal. I followed his trail underground, deeper into the belly of the base. That's where I found her, Elena Varelli, a former tactician, my shadow, my trainee, my echo. "I was always in your shadow," she hissed, "but I wanted the power you never used." She lunged. No guns, no armor, just fists, elbows, instinct. A knife slashed my side. I grabbed it, plunged it into the backup power conduit behind her. Sparks flew. Lights blinked out. The AI stuttered. Countdown interrupted. My team stormed in. They took her down. I limped toward the far corner, toward the man they'd taken hostage. My father, barely conscious. He looked up, eyes watery. "You're not like your mother," he rasped. "You're stronger than all of us, and I was wrong." Then he slipped back into sleep. By sunrise, encrypted files had been sent to CNN, the DoD, and Congress. Headlines flooded the country: illegal AI network dismantled, military cover-up exposed, hero revealed. Elena was plastered across every screen. The woman who stood in my shadow was now exposed to the full light of day. I was summoned to testify before Congress, this time not as a scapegoat, but as a witness. I didn't wear a uniform, just a crisp white shirt, and the truth. I'm not here to reclaim power, I told them. I'm here to prove that when silence becomes a weapon, it's more dangerous than any enemy we've ever faced. They listened, even when I spoke softly. Investigators traced the internal leaks back to Dylan. He wasn't criminally charged, but he was stripped of rank. Disgraced. Conduct unbecoming, they said. He found me after the hearing, posture crumpled, eyes wet. "I didn't want it to go this far," he stammered. "I just wanted to be seen." I looked at him long and hard. "Forgiveness is a privilege," I said. "You haven't earned it." And then I walked away. 2 days later, I got a call I never expected, from the President of the United States. He offered to reinstate my rank, even offered me strategic command at CENTCOM, youngest woman in history. I turned it down. At the press conference, microphones buzzed. "I don't need a seat to prove I belong," I said. "I need to make sure the next generation doesn't pay for our silence." Then I left Washington, returned home, to Missouri. I founded the Row Institute for Strategic Ethics, a quiet, unflashy school built from repurposed Army funds and private donations. No parades, no flags, just students, learning to fight without becoming monsters. In the main hall above the whiteboard hung one photo, not of me, of my father standing beneath a tree behind our house, hand resting on the old pasture fence. Beneath it, "No one is born knowing honor, but everyone has the right to choose it." One fall morning, I stood before my students, gray suit, worn-out boots, chalk in hand. In the third row, my mother, quiet, proud, present. I cleared my throat. "I used to think I needed victory to be worthy," I said, "but sometimes just living by your truth is the victory." A hand went up. "Do you regret not forgiving Dylan?" I paused. "No," I said. "Forgiveness isn't owed, but I do hope people learn from the damage they cause." Then I turned to the board, and in tall, clean letters, I wrote, "No applause needed, just live true. Weeks later, a student uploaded my talk to YouTube. Didn't expect much, but it went viral. Millions of views. The video was titled, "They Mocked Her at Dinner." Then the TV said, "Youngest General in U.S. History." The comments poured in. She spoke the truth we forgot we needed. This isn't just a story, it's a reminder. The sun was setting as I watched students trickle from the lecture hall. No applause, just the quiet hum of future leaders shaped by truth. And I realized it's not the battles we win that define us. It's the silence we refuse to carry and the courage to live true even when no one's watching. If this story hit home, drop a comment below. Have you ever had to fight for your truth alone? Let me know, and don't forget to subscribe. Your voice matters more than you think.